Hey, 8th grade. Today I'm going to cover two different concepts with you. The first one is going to be the exterior angle theorem. And then the second one is we're going to go back to the triangle sum theorem and we're going to look at it with some algebra involved. So we're going to take what we did yesterday and make it a little bit more complicated because you know I love to do that to you. First, let's take a look at these exterior angles. So when we're looking at a triangle, here we have an interior angle. Here we have an interior angle. But then way over here, we have an exterior angle. And if you remember from yesterday, this plus this plus this have to add up to 180 degrees, right? We showed you, tore off the angles on the triangle, put them all together, it made a straight line. Well, where else do we see a straight line? Right here. So we know that 120 plus this angle equals 180 degrees, right? Anything we can add to that angle ended up being 180 degrees. So we know that this angle plus this angle has to equal that angle. So we can use that to solve some problems as we work through our triangles. So we need to find out what angle U is. We know that U plus 50 is going to be equal to, what is the measure of our exterior angle? 120. Now it's just a one-step equation. You can either solve this using mental math. Do we know what 50 is added to make 120? If not, then you can subtract 50 from both sides, just like we did when solving one-step equations way back in 6th grade. And when you do that, you find out that U is equal to 70. Can we double check that? Well, we could plug in 70 here. And remember, this is a straight angle here, right? So we know that whatever this is plus this has to be 180 degrees. What's 180 minus 120? It's 60. So then we can go back and double check. Is 60 plus 50 plus 70 equal to 180? Sure is. 60 plus 50 is 110, plus 70 is 180. So we must have done something right. So, quick review of what we just did. We took angle U, added it to 50, and set it equal to 120. Using that, we were able to find out that angle U is equal to 70 degrees. Let's try another one. We have two more angles that are interior. Again, we're finding angle U. I don't know why, we just are. And we have our exterior angle here marked as 115. So we've got 50 plus U, and this time is going to be equal to 115. So we can solve using mental math, or if we're not sure, set up our one-step equation, subtract 50 from both sides, and what do we get? Well, that's 0, right? And I know 100 minus 50 is 50. Add that 15 back and we get 65. So in this case, U has a measure of 65 degrees. Can we solve it and make sure that we've got it correct? Sure. Plug in 65 here. And then we know that 115 plus a number will get us to 180. So what's 180 minus 115? 65. So then let's add up our sums here and see if it's equal to 180. Well, 65 plus 65 is 130. 130 plus 50 is 180. So yep, the math checks out. We did U plus 50 equals 115. You subtract 50 from both sides and find out that U is equal to 65. Let's do another one real quick. We have another one that's pretty straightforward, and then we'll throw some algebra in because, well, I love to make things difficult. So here we have our two interior angles here, 45 and we don't know. And then our exterior angle is 40. So let's solve it. E plus 45. Do I have to call it E? No. I'm just calling it E because it's labeled that. You can use whatever letter you want. You could put a big empty box right there if you wanted to. That's fine. So E plus 45 equals 140. To solve it, we're going to subtract 45 from both sides. So 45 minus 45 is 0. We're left with E on the left-hand side. And 140 minus 45, well, 140 minus 40 is 100, minus 5 more. Oof, didn't mean to do that. Is 95. So E must have a measure of 95 degrees. All right, let's going to check one more here. We're going to switch gears. We're going to go back to the interior angle theorem, and the angle sum theorem, and we are going to throw in some algebra. So if we remember from yesterday, the sum of the three interior angles is always going to be 180. So let's set up our equation. We know this angle is 80 and this angle is 60. 80 plus 60. And then we're going to add this angle. We don't know exactly what it is, but we know that it's equal to 6x plus 4. And what are we going to set that equal to? 180. So now I need to go about finding my like terms. I want to simplify what's going on this side of the equation. So 6 has an x attached to it. Nothing else has an x. We're going to leave that be for right now. But 4 is a constant, 60 is a constant, and 80 is a constant. So let's add those together. 80 plus 60 is 140, plus 4 is 144. And then we're going to drop down that plus 6x because it did not have any like terms to combine with. And that is, of course, still equal to 180. We haven't really done anything groundbreaking here. And now we have a good old two-step equation. So draw your line down the equal sign. We subtract the constant first. So we're subtracting 144 from both sides. And we know that 144 minus 144 is nothing. And 6x drops down. And 180 minus 144 is 36. Now we can find the measure of x by dividing by 6. 6 divided by 6 simplifies. Some might say cancel. I say simplify to 1. X is then equal to 6. Now, you have to be very careful and pay attention to what the question is asking you. If they were asking me what is x equal to, I've done it, I'm done, move on, right? X is equal to 6. Awesome. If they're asking me for the full angle measure, it's not 6. I have to plug 6 in here and do 6 times 6 plus 4 to get 36 plus 4 is 40. Okay, I can double check it because 40 plus 80 plus 60 is 180. But my point is you have to pay close attention to what you're being asked for. Is it the angle measure or is it just the measure of the variable? All right, here we go. Got another one. We know that this angle is 30, this angle is 42, and this angle is x divided by 12. It's kind of hard to see that, but it's a division symbol. Trust me. So we have got 30. We're going to add it to 42. We're not going to judge Corby's handwriting. And we're going to add that to x divided by 12. And I'm going to put that in parentheses because it makes me feel better. We know that you should divide first. That x divided by 12 should not be separated, but it just makes me feel better. You could also write that as x over 12. And that whole thing is equal to, you guessed it, 180. So let's take a look at our like terms. I've got a 30. I've got a 42. I cannot use that 12. It's not being added or subtracted. It's stuck with that x. Think of it as a coefficient, okay? We don't want to add or subtract that to anything just yet. So instead, let's take the 30 and the 42, add them together, and we get 72. And then we add that to, and I'm going to write this the second way, x over 12. These are the same thing, okay? Just two different ways to write the same thing. But if you see that x over 12, it's kind of easier to see it as thinking of it like a coefficient. And that is equal to, surprise, surprise, 180. Nothing has changed, okay? All right, so then what do we do next? We subtract. So we end up with minus 72, minus 72, and these are additive inverses. They give us 0. So x over 12 is equal to 108. So then, what is our next step? Well, this says x is divided by 12. We need to do the opposite, right? We're all about those inverses. And I apologize, I never drew my line down like you're used to. We're all about those inverses. So how could I undo dividing by 12? Multiply by 12. If I make something 12 times bigger and then 12 times smaller, it hasn't changed. So those will simplify to 1. But remember, whatever I do to the left side, I got to do to the right side. So I'm going to multiply that by 12. And I'm going to have 108 times 12. X is equal to, get ready because it's kind of ridiculous, 1,296. And you're going, hold on, Corby. You told me that all of the angles have to add up to 180, and you're right. But this angle measure isn't 1,296. It's 1,296 divided by 12. And when you do that, it's that 108. If you add those up, 108 plus 42 plus 30 equals 180. So x is not the angle measure. It is just the variable there in that corner. If you wanted to find the angle measure, you would divide by 12. All right, let's take a look at our next one. Here we have an angle, an angle, an angle. Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. First off, what's that angle measure? 90. Anytime it's marked with that square, we've got 90. So we're going to say 90 plus, this angle is 2x plus 1. I'm going to try to write small so I can fit it. Can she do it? Probably not. And then this angle measure is 5x plus 5. So again, I am just taking all my angles, adding them together, and setting them equal to the same number every time, which is 180. Now, we've got a whole bunch of numbers here. Let's start looking for like terms. I have got a constant, and a constant, and a constant. So we can add those together. 90 plus 1 plus 5 is 96. Now I've got 2x and 5x, which makes 7x. And that is still equal to 180. Oh my gosh, I wrote that wrong. 7x. There we go. Pretend that never happened. It was 7x the whole time. All right, so what is my next step? I need to get that 7x by itself. So I'm going to take my 180 and I'm going to subtract 96. We'll do that to both sides. And 96 minus 96 is a big old lot of nothing. So we get 7x left on this side. And 180 minus 96 is 84. And how do we find out what x is? Well, these are being multiplied. So what's the opposite of multiplying? Division. So 7 divided by 7 is just x, yeah? 84 divided by 7 is 12. X is equal to 12. Are either of these angle measures 12? No. So if they're asking you to find what's x, it's 12. But if they're asking you to find the angle measure, you got to plug 12 back in for x. 2 times x is 24 plus 1. This angle is 25. 5 times x is 60 plus 5. This angle is 65. So always pay attention to what the question is asking you for. Do they want the variable? It's 12. Do they want the angle measure? Depends on the angle. This one's 25, that one's 65. Okie dokie. Oof, that's a lot, right? But we can do this. We can handle it. So we've got 7x minus 1, 5x plus 2, and 7x plus 8. The only difference between this one and the last one is that instead of that 90-degree angle, it's been replaced with something with a bit more numbers. So 7x plus 8 plus 7x minus 1. And our last angle is 5x plus 2. And what's it going to be equal to? I know you can tell me. You're not going to tell me because I'm in a computer. It's fine. It's 180. Beautiful. All right, let's add up our like terms. So we have got 7x and 7x and 5x. So we've got 7 plus 7 is 14 plus 5 is 19x. And then we will add our constants. So we've got 8 and negative 1. Put those together, you get 7 because that negative 1 decreases it. 7 plus 2 gets you 9. So 19 plus 9 equals $1.80. And we're back at a good old two-step equation. Did you guys realize at the beginning of the year that they would just come back to haunt you like this? I'm sorry. They were much simpler times back then. We're going to subtract 9 from both sides. It's super exciting. And when we do that, these cancel out, they zero out, so we're left with 19x on the left. And you end up with 171 on the right. So some number times 19 is 171. To find it, we're going to divide by 19 and divide by 19. And when you divide that out, these will simplify to 1. And we find that 1x is equal to none other than 9. Is that the angle measure? No, that's just the value of x. If they ask you the angle measure, you plug it back in and do 7 times 9 minus 1, or 5 times 9 plus 2, or 7 times x plus 8, okay? If they ask for the angle measure, plug it back in and find it. Don't just say whatever you got for x. It won't work. All right, here we go. Let's change gears again. I know, we're pulling out all the stops today. If you remember, way back in the beginning of my video, this angle plus this angle is equal to that angle. So we're going to set it up. 30 plus 4x plus 2. I'm just adding up those interior angles. Equals 8 plus 6x. Now, two things I need you to notice. Number one, when we're dealing with that exterior angle, we're never looking at the angle that's right next door. It's never the adjacent angle. We're always looking at the opposite angles. You add up the opposite angles, and they're equal to the exterior angle. Other thing I want you to notice, a difference between this problem and that problem is there's an x here and an x there. We got x's all over the place. We got to keep track of them and keep them all on one side of the equal sign. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. I'm going to do that because I know that when I subtract 4x from the right side, I'll have a positive x on the right, and we like dealing with positive numbers whenever possible. So I'm going to subtract 4x. The math goes better when you make the noise. Subtract 4x. That's the tallest 4 in the history of the world. That is 0. We're left with 30 and 2. What does that equal? 32. I'm combining steps. I think we can handle that. And then on the right-hand side, we have our 8 still. We haven't done anything to it. Plus 6x minus 4x is none other than 2x. What is our next step? It is to subtract 8. We want to get that x by itself. So 32 minus 8 is 24. 8 minus 8 is a whole bunch of nothing. And the 2x just drops down. We don't do anything to it yet. Okay, so this tells me that 2x's are equal to 24. We find the worth of 1x by dividing both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 0 divided by 2 is still 0. And 24 divided by 2 is 12. So x is equal to 12. Is my angle equal to 12? No. Are you guys getting this? Like, I've said a lot. I hope we remember. Finding x is not the same as finding the angle measure. To find the angle measure, I would need to go back, and if they want angle Q, I'm going to plug in 12 and do 4 times 12 plus 2 to get Q, okay? If they want the exterior angle, then I would do 8 plus 6 times 12, okay? We'll do one more, and then I think you guys have the picture, and I'm tired of hearing myself talk. So here we go. We've got our interior angles, 46 and -1 plus 8x. You will note they are opposite the angle adjacent to our exterior. We're not dealing with the adjacent angle, so we're going to write 46 plus -1 or -1. It's the same thing. Plus 8x. And that is equal to 18x plus 5. Now, I could subtract 18x from both sides, or I could subtract 8x from both sides. I personally am a fan of subtracting 8x. Why? It's going to leave me with positive numbers. So, minus 8x, minus 8x. What do we get? Well, that cancels. What's 46 minus 1? 45. Thank you for playing along at home. And then the right-hand side, 18x minus 8x is 10x. And then we've got a plus 5. How do we undo that plus 5? Simple, my friends. We subtract 5. Whatever we do to this side, we do to this side. 45 minus 5 is 40. 40 is equal to 10x plus 0. And then we need to get that x by itself, so we will divide by 10. The opposite of multiplying by 10 is dividing by 10, and actually we're dividing everything by 10. It just happens to be that 0 divided by 10 is 0. 40 divided by 10 is 4, and 10x divided by 10 is just 1x. 0 divided by 10 is still 0. And this is where knowing those identity properties comes in handy, because if I multiply by 1, it's the same number. If I add 0, it's the same number. It's not changing anything. So that tells me that x is, in fact, equal to 4. Is my angle equal to 4? Are you tired of me asking? The angle is not equal to 4. Plug in, substitute in 4 for x, and you can find out what the angle measure is. Okay? All right. The video's long enough. I'm going to leave it at here. You can find me on GoGuardian. Send me an email if you have any questions. All right. Love you. Bye.